Hey guys, can you believe it is the first weekend in March? It's your girl Lily Mae of Motivational Brown Girls, and this afternoon I am sitting here sipping tea. My co-pilots are out in the field, working on their respective research projects and things of that nature. So in the weeks to come, they can bring you a wealth of information. But for the month of March, guys, we are going to discuss a plethora of things. We're going to talk about the Me Too movement, angry white women versus angry black women. We're going to discuss masculinity versus femininity, independence versus dependence, and then we're going to talk about the women's marches. And guys, during this month, you probably will hear a lot about temperance, the 19th Amendment and things of that nature, because we always try to bring you a little bit of history in with the current events to kind of show you how things have transpired down through the years. But this week, I want to talk to you about a myriad of different things, and a couple of those things are current events centering around things that have been going on. Bullying is the first thing that I want to discuss. Bullying is becoming a major issue. It's becoming a major issue amongst adults and young people. And just want to tell you a little bit about my experience with cyberbullying, and it's been pretty recent. And so the biggest thing that I want to do real quick is define what cyberbullying is. And basically, it's utilizing electronic communication to try and intimidate or threaten a person. Now, here's where, preference and perspective and things of that nature come into play, because what you might not think is threatening and intimidating, to me, may be threatening and intimidating. And so I want to talk a little bit about my experience. While honestly, I don't call it bullying, but depending on who the actions are taken against, it could be considered bullying. And so I want to address that. So a couple of weeks ago, I got an inbox message, and in the inbox message, it was pretty much, questioning me about a couple of projects that I was working on. And so my first thought is, anybody that knows Lily may know that I am an individual who assess and evaluate patterns of behavior. And so my initial thought was, wait a minute, this is a pattern for you. You're always confronting people in their inbox about situations that you feel you have formal knowledge of and things of that nature, or situations or things that you feel you are able to implement and achieve better than the next person. And because I know this, I'm like, okay, wait a minute, are you trying to cyberbully me? And once again, I'm going to go back and say that bullying is bullying, but it also depends on who you're dealing with. And so for me, my initial reaction is, hold up, let me explain something to you. Number one, this is what it is, and this is how this conversation is going to go, simply because the best way to beat a bully is to pull their own cards and to more or less, for children is different. I'm talking about adults. When you're dealing with adult bullies, you have to make sure you understand what their deficiencies are, what their insecurities are. Because 9 times out of 10, when you're dealing with an adult bully, which our president is an adult bully, but when you're dealing with the adult bully, you have to de-escalate them quick. And what I found is that my approach in being very direct, just as that individual was direct with me, they began to scale back. Okay, and so I want to give you a formal definition of cyberbullying, and a formal definition that was pretty much presented by a couple of education professionals and educational researchers, stated that cyberbullying is being cruel to others by sending or posting harmful material using technological means. An individual or group that uses information and communication involving electronic technologies to facilitate and deliberate repeated harassment or threats to an individual or group. Now, that can be emails, cell phones, instant messages, defamatory work sites, online personal polling sites, chat rooms. And now we don't really use chat rooms. But I want to explain to you the differences between bullying and cyberbullying. Bullying is direct, okay? Bullying is direct. It generally occurs, in person, in the physical, and it's a result of poor relationships. Now, there can be poor relationships with family, friends, colleagues or whatever. And that bullying generally involves hitting, punching, shoving, teasing, name-calling, gossip, gestures, exclusion, because when you're trying to elicit fear, it can be physical, verbal, or nonverbal. Now, on the other hand, when we're talking about cyberbullying is generally anonymous, okay? It doesn't occur in a physical place. Now, you can be in a physical place and start texting somebody, bullying them, but cyberbullying generally occurs sitting in your own home, in your car, wherever, behind the scenes, behind the screen, behind your phone. Generally, those individuals who cyberbully appear to have good relationships with individuals. They put on, so to speak, for the Facebook. They put on for Instagram. They put on for Snapchat. And generally, cyberbullies are harder to detect unless you keep, as Amber J calls them, receipts. When you're keeping receipts, screenshots, and things of that nature. And the other part is with cyberbullying, you can't really tell, what those emotional reactions are. And so that's why cyberbullying is dangerous. And I'm going to say this before, because I'm not going to really get too much into mass school shootings, but cyberbullying coupled with bullying has really, really impacted and influenced a lot of our massive school shootings, on top of hatred and things of that nature. But going with this cyberbullying idea, there are a couple of types of cyberbullies. You have inadvertent cyberbullies, and those are the individuals who role play, so to speak. Like they may, act like somebody else, doing subliminal messages, responding to things that maybe they don't need to respond to. So I always say there's power in silence. So you don't want to be known as an inadvertent bully. So sometimes it's best to see and don't see. You don't have to respond to everything that you see. Then you have that vengeful angel. And that's the individual who tries to right their wrongs. And they do this to protect themselves. And I think that's more or less the bullies that I come across with. I come across a lot of vengeful angels who seemingly do not understand that what they're doing is wrong, or they've done wrong so much and they've mistreated people so much that they think that it's okay. Well, it's not okay. Then you have the power-hungry cyberbullies, and those are the individuals who are looking for a reaction, and they try their hardest to control people with fear. Well, once again, I'm going to take it back to my situation with the bully. I think that in my situation, this particular bully felt like, I'm going to do this. And for me, it's more or less like, that's not how I roll. The way I roll is that I walk to the beat of my own drum. You do not have any type of control over me unless I allow you to have that control over me. And what I found is that when you more or less address that power-hungry bully like that, it will shut them down. And interestingly, I have not heard from that bully since that conversation, which is awesome. Then you have the mean girls, and generally the mean girls are bored. They have no life, which can kind of go into the power bully. They have a big ego, got a big ego, such a huge ego, and they're trying to promote their own social status. Primarily because there may be something going on that they don't want anybody to know about, or something going on that everybody knows about, and so it's an issue for them, and they're struggling with that. And they generally try to intimidate on and offline. And they have to go around looking for people to bully. Well, I want to say to any bullies out there, be careful who you bully. Be careful who you bully, because guess what? What's going to happen is there's going to come a time that you just might bully the right one. And that bullying may turn into something that you may not be able to come back from. And let me explain what I'm saying. When you're bullying and cyberbullying, you don't know who the person that you're bullying is in constant and consistent contact with. And it could cause great legal trouble for you. It could cause great social problems for you if, in fact, you're bullying an individual who indirectly is supporting you and trying to help you along the way. So you have to really, really be careful. And then, to the nerds, and this is interesting because you guys know I teach high school, and I see this a lot. I see kids that have been bullied so much, and they have started to bully as a result of being bullied so much. And it's so interesting because what happens is, I was talking to a parent one day, and she was like, well, my son won't bully and my son won't bully. And I said, well, maybe not. But I think what's going on is your son has been bullied so much that he's decided, I'm not going to get bullied anymore. It's my turn to do the bullying. And not saying that it's okay, but I think we have to acknowledge that we have to talk to our kids about what bullying is. We have to talk to our kids about what bullying is, and we have to make sure that we are really honing in on bullying, because it's getting to be too much. It's getting to be too much, okay? All right, and so I guess it's hard to really talk about how to combat bullying. You know, it's hard to talk about it because the reality is that cyberbullying generally starts at 9 years old and usually ends after 14. But guys, you got adults out here bullying, okay? You got adults out here bullying. And what I want to say to speak to that is this: adults who bully are still children at heart. Adults who bully are still children at heart, and we have to make sure that we are doing everything we can to show these individuals that we will not back down. We will not step down, okay? I think that the worst thing that we can do is let people think and believe that they have a hold on us. Because when people feel like they got a hold on you, they're going to do all kinds of foolishness to try to, hurt you. And that's just not the case, okay? Be empowered. That's one thing that Motivational Brown Girls is all about. We provide information and education, but we also want you to be empowered and feel like, there's more. There's more to you than just what you see. I am beautiful. I am wonderful. I am awesome. And the other thing is, you got to tell your kids this. You have to tell your kids this. And I think that when we start to talk to our children more about how beautiful they are and empowering them, they'll feel better and will feel better. Because what's happening is there are so many unhappy adults out here who are pretending to be happy. Individuals are getting involved and trying to create their own way, and that's okay. But what's happening is, while you're trying to create your own way, you're hurting your kids in the process, and you're teaching your kids to be ill-mannered, and you're teaching your kids to defy authority, and that's what's causing a lot of the issues that we're having in society today. I don't want to talk a whole lot about cyberbullying, but I definitely wanted to put that out there. The next thing I want to talk about is this. Parents, make sure that you are paying close attention to your child's mental health. And I'm particularly speaking to mothers. This is all about women. This month is all about women. And please, guys, make sure that you're paying particular attention to your the mental health of your children. I was in conversation with a young lady this week, and it hurt me to my heart when she told me what happened with her child. And the first thing I thought about was, we in the African American community are not paying close attention to our kids. We are not doing what we can do to make sure that our children are okay. And guys, we got to do better. We have to do better. Our kids are hurting. Our kids are hurting. And until we begin to be honest with ourselves and accept that we are causing some of this hurt, it's going to always be a problem. Our kids are hurting, and we have to do something to combat this hurt. We have to do something. Your child is your responsibility. When you send them to school, we can only do but so much. Okay? We can only do but so much. We have to make sure that we understand that children have a three-way street to learning and growing. It's psychological, it's educational, and it's social. And parents, you have got to make sure that you are pouring into that psychological. You got to make sure that you are pouring into that psychological. They need family support, okay? They need you to be their parent and not their friend. You have to pour into their educational. You have to make sure that they understand that you are there for them no matter what. Because at the end of the day, children are looking for somebody to love them. And if you don't do it, who will? Guys, once again, this is Sipping Tea with MBG. I'm your girl, Lily Mae. Antoine, the confidential informant, is out of the building. Amber J is out of the building, and they're working on their respective research pieces to the Motivational Brown Girls Collective. But this month, we're talking about it's all about women. And a lot of the conversation is going to center around women as mothers, women as sisters, women as daughters, women as entrepreneurs. Just women, guys. Just embracing the whole concept of what a woman is. What do we do? Who are we? Why do we exist? I'm so excited about these episodes in the month of March, because it's important, it's significant, and I'm proud to be a woman. So many people complain about being a woman. Yeah, we know we have monthly, we have our menstruals, and we have to carry the babies, and when, if you get pregnant out of wedlock, or, you get pregnant and the father isn't involved, and the mother, the woman, generally has to carry the bulk of the responsibilities. But guess what? We were created to be strong. We were created to handle things. We were created to be caretakers. And so with that being stated, I'm proud to be a woman. You should be proud to be a woman. But I am so proud to be a woman. And when I think about woman, the W stands for wonderful. Wonderfully created. Wonderful being. The O stands for outstanding, because women are outstanding. We're great. We're great. And the things that we do and the things that we endure are significant. The M is for magnificent. Magnificent, because we are magnificent beings. The way we walk, the way we talk, the way we strive, the way we do what we do. The A is for adventurous, because boy, being a woman is an adventure. And the N is for never gonna stop, because we as women have to keep going even when everything around us is falling apart. And that's what Motivational Brown Girls is here to do for you. Motivational Brown Girls is here to show you that no matter what, no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, we are here for you. We are constantly and consistently here to first inform and then educate individuals to become agents of change in their communities. And we are going to continue to do that by motivating and inspiring you to act. Okay? And so, with that being stated, I want to close on this note. Embrace who you are, embrace what you are, and live to be the best you that you can be. Guys, once again, it's your girl, Lily Mae. You've listened to a brief encounter of Sipping Tea with MBG. It's March 3rd, 2018. Stay tuned for the weeks to come. In the weeks to come, remember, we're going to be bringing to you the Me Too movement, angry white women versus angry black women, masculinity versus femininity, independent versus dependent, and we're going to talk about the women's marches. Guys, as always, MBG listens and then we speak. Have a great afternoon.
Nobody gives you power. You have to take it. Welcome to Ms. Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 most powerful women in the world. For this list, we're looking at the most influential women across the board, covering areas like business, politics, philanthropy. You get the picture. We're not, however, including entertainers, as they deserve a list of their own. These women must also still be alive and active with their power.
For me, owning a network or being a part of a network is about continuing to use that platform to raise the consciousness.
Number 10, Ginny Rometty. The first woman on our list started out at IBM in 1981 as a mere systems engineer. 30 years later, IBM announced her as their first ever female president.
I like to say digital is not a destination, it's a foundation.
CEOs like Indra Nooyi of PepsiCo and Meg Whitman of Hewlett-Packard Enterprise impress, but Rometty is a cut above the rest.
Well, it's a good question to talk about strategy. And I think when you say who's got it right, I actually believe an important lesson is you build your own strategy.
As chairwoman, president, and CEO of IBM, she's in charge of one of America's most important companies.
Well, IBM today is a solutions company, but IBM has been a solutions company. The change is the kinds of problems that we solve.
Rometty's made Fortune magazine's 50 most powerful women in business list 10 years in a row, topping it in 2012, 13, and 14. That probably has something to do with the fact that her net worth is somewhere in the area of $45 million. Keep your eyes on Rometty, as she's made big promises for IBM's future.
You know, look, IBM is an iconic company. It's an important company to this world. And I never felt the most important thing was that I was a woman. That wasn't it. It was about being and doing the right things as CEO for IBM.
Number 9, Isabel dos Santos.
Well, as a young person, undoubtedly the key thing is knowledge. You really have to learn.
According to Forbes, this Azerbaijan-born Angolan isn't only the richest woman in Angola, but she's also the richest woman in Africa. That's not surprising, considering she has an estimated net worth of over $3 billion. But her wealth isn't the only thing that makes Isabel dos Santos so influential.
So education is really still our gap. I think if anyone wants to help Africa, they definitely need to look on how to help our universities and how to help us gain more knowledge.
The oldest daughter of Angolan President José Eduardo dos Santos She started her first business, a nightclub on the Luanda Island, when she was just 24. She used this as a springboard to increase her business interests and investments around the world, in industries like telecommunications, media, and finance. From these, she has built a reputation as a smart, vibrant, and respectable businesswoman over the years.
I think there's a young generation of African women who are highly educated. They're also very exposed to the world, and they want to build industries, they want to create jobs.
Number 8. Park Geun-hye. Currently the first ever female to be elected president of South Korea and its first female head of state, Park Geun-hye has helped the country work towards massive gains, both financially and socially. She worked her way to the top, serving as chairwoman of the Grand National Party and as a member of the Korean National Assembly. Under her watch, and according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development Gender Gap Index, South Korean women have seen a notably improved level of educational and health equality. She is currently working on building a creative economy for South Korea, and while her approval ratings fluctuate, she has received much praise for her handling of the noisy neighbors to the north.
The President and I reaffirm that we will by no means tolerate North Korea's threats and provocations, which have recently been escalating further.
She's diffused several difficult situations with North Korea and kept her country moving forward.
Security comes when the lives of its people are improved. It comes when people are free to pursue their happiness.
Number 7. Sonia Gandhi. The current president of the Indian National Congress Party and chairperson of the United Progressive Alliance, Sonia Gandhi holds one of the most powerful political positions in the world. As a foreign-born leader in India, the most populous democratic nation with over 1.3 billion citizens, Gandhi has strategically worked to build a progressive nation. Rather than becoming prime minister in 2004, she elected to remain leader of the UPA as she could have more influence there. Still, she nominated the current prime minister Manmohan Singh and also has her son, Rahul, in parliament. Many praise Gandhi's leadership as she continues to help India overcome gender and ethnic prejudices.
We must have the courage to confront these social evils and fight against them.
Number 6. Marilyn Hewson. In 2013, her net worth was $25 million. It quickly became $34 million. Curious how that happened? After becoming CEO of Lockheed Martin, one of the world's biggest defense contractors that year, she churned out record profits.
We announced that we are in the process of acquiring Sikorsky, which is a helicopter company, and they provide helicopter and services. And we're really very excited. It's about a $9 billion deal for our company of about $45 billion. That's a pretty significant acquisition.
Her personal financial boost was the reward for her success. Since then, she's kept the company progressive. Under her leadership, Lockheed Martin has branched out into areas of defense such as cybersecurity and alternative energy.
But at Lockheed Martin, we live on the cutting edge of physics, material science, technology, and engineering. We obsess over things most people only imagine.
Additionally, she serves on the board of directors for Sandia National Laboratories. They do energy research for the U.S. government. And DuPont, one of the world's largest chemical companies. Needless to say, she's a busy woman. But somehow, brilliantly, she always finds success.
I spend a lot of time with world leaders around the world. I'm engaged in a lot of global security conferences and air shows, and certainly it's not an issue in the Department of Defense or on Capitol Hill.
Number 5. Hillary Clinton. At this point, is there anyone out there who doesn't know Hillary's name? She's had an illustrious career in U.S. politics, initially becoming part of public consciousness when she served as First Lady under her husband Bill Clinton's U.S. presidency.
And we are here to find common ground so that we may help bring new dignity and respect to women and girls all over the world.
Her real success, however, came later. She served as a senator, representing the state of New York from 2001 to 2009. From there, she served as the United States Secretary of State until 2013.
It is an overwhelming honor to be sworn in to assume this position on behalf of our country.
Of course, as of 2015, she's most known for being the most promising candidate to become the first ever female president of the United States.
I'm going to fight until every little girl in America knows she can grow up to be anything she wants, even President of the United States.
After failing to gain the 2008 Democratic nomination, she finds herself the frontrunner for the 2016 election 8 years later. Oh yeah, one more thing. She's also worth $31 million.
you know, this is a huge election. You never know what might happen. Let's get rid of the people that don't agree with us and only talk to the people who do. I guess you can do that without a teleprompter.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. All right, yeah.
Number 4, Christine Lagarde.
In the yearbook, you said, please, no more math. How did someone who hates math become the most important woman on the international financial scene?
Many of the women on this list exert power over their own individual countries. Christine Lagarde is just a little different. She's in charge of 189 countries. In 2011, she was appointed the first ever female managing director of the International Monetary Fund. For those unaware, the IMF works cooperatively with its countries to secure world financial stability, facilitate economic growth, and lessen world poverty. When she took the helm, the world was still working to recover from the financial crisis of the late 2000s. Lagarde has overseen positive global growth and has also changed economic understandings.
But essentially, if you bring more women to the job market, you create value, makes economic sense, and growth is improved.
She has placed an emphasis on the progressive idea of increasing the female labor force as a way to reduce poverty and inequality.
If you ask many women who are pioneers in their own field, they will often acknowledge that being a single woman or being a small minority is both hard and an opportunity.
Number 3, Janet Yellen. Speaking of money, we move on to the chair of the Board of Governors of the world's most powerful bank, the Federal Reserve. As the central banking system of the United States, the Fed conducts the national monetary policy and regulates the nation's banks.
She's quietly shaping a lot of thinking, and she's certainly going to be shaping the future of the American economy.
As the first female chairperson of the Federal Reserve, Yellen is in charge of arguably the most important economy in the world.
Earlier today, the Federal Open Market Committee decided to raise the target range for the federal funds rate by 1/4 percentage point, bringing it to 1/4 to 1/2%.
Coming off the Great Recession, she's consistently worked to reduce the Fed's monthly asset purchases of $85 billion. She's also had the responsibility to rein in the power of banks to reduce the possibility of another recession. Even in the company of fellow financial juggernauts like, say, Abigail Johnson, the president and CEO of investment firm Fidelity International, Yellen is likely to still be the most important person in the room.
Even with surprises and global events, Yellen is sure to continue her evidence-based approach to policy and keep calm and carry on.
Number 2, Melinda Gates. So far on this list, we've seen the power of politicians and businesswomen. But Melinda is different. She exerts the power of philanthropy.
Having people see that other people are making change with philanthropy, I mean, these are people who have created their own businesses, put their own ingenuity behind incredible ideas. If they put their ideas and their brain behind philanthropy, they can change the world.
As co-founder and co-chair of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, she is arguably the world's most influential philanthropist and ambassador for global development.
So we have to invest in the science for women, and we have to invest in the on-the-ground partnerships.
Since establishing the foundation with her husband in 2000, the Gates have donated over $30 billion. Her efforts are expansive, covering areas including poverty, renewable energy, and education.
We targeted 15-year-olds because they're really the ones that need to put the investments in now if we're going to get changes over the next 50 or 30 years, because these are long-term problems that we're talking about with time and energy.
Recently, she has placed an emphasis on working to improve equality and justice for women. In 2012, she pledged $560 million towards improving female access to contraception in third world countries. Without question, she works to improve the world every single day.
There's something about turning 50 that, at least for me, I look more at the end of my life and say, how much time do I have and what do I want to accomplish?
Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions.
She came to feminism in midlife, convincing the Supreme Court women were equal under the Constitution.
Will you raise your right hand?
Once appointed to the court, she became known for her scathing and meticulous dissents, often read out loud.
Because these girls are our girls. They are us. They each have the spark of something extraordinary inside of them, just like our daughters and our sons.
And I love the people of my country. And I couldn't, if I would say, be deaf to the call of so millions of people asking me to come back to my country, to lead the process that we need to, I would say, achieve in this new period in Chile.
I hope that memories of all this year's happy events
will brighten our lives for many years to come. I will continue to treasure and draw inspiration from the countless kindnesses shown to me in this country and throughout the Commonwealth. Thank you all.
Number 1. Angela Merkel. Our top spot goes to one of the most important political leaders in Europe. She's done so much, but we're just going to focus on her work as German Chancellor. Currently in her third term, Merkel helped push Germany through the global economic crisis caused by the recession and secure one of the best economies in the world. Not only did she help Germany, but she also helped the rest of Europe too. Described as the de facto leader of the European Union, Merkel's Germany provided bailouts and support for fellow EU countries, eventually stabilizing the Eurozone. She's led the charge to support immigrants fleeing violent nations, proving her commitment beyond just Germany and to the entire world.
By viewing the refugees as victims to be rescued rather than invaders to be repelled, the woman raised behind the Iron Curtain gambled on freedom.
Do you agree with our list?
There will come a time.
It's gonna come back. Yeah, you were right.
Who do you think is the most powerful woman in the world? For more fascinating top 10s published daily, be sure to subscribe to Ms. Mojo.
I'm going to go unscripted. I'm going to go unscripted.
Good. Get rid of the script. Get rid of the teleprompter.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, just be liberated.
Yep. Where were we?
All right. Thank you. Oh, hey. Yummy. Thank you. Thanks, Aves. That was so good. You know, all those years, 25 years of doing the Oprah show and going into work at 5:30 in the morning in the makeup chair by 6:30 and literally crawling home at night for 25 years, I used to wonder what the ladies who lunch were doing. Really, I was attracted to paintings of women lunching and so this is what it's like. But even better, this is an empowerment lunch. You know, I changed how I viewed power about 1989. There was a book I read by a man named Gary Zukav called Seat of the Soul. And in Seat of the Soul, he defined what is true power, what is authentic power. And his definition of authentic power, meaning the kind of power that can never be taken from you. Not your looks, not your fame, not your money, not your square footage, but authentic power is when the personality, your personality, comes to serve the energy of your soul. When you are able to align who you are, who you've become in the world, with really what you've come to do in the world, when your personality serves the soul. So I thought a lot about that. That book was actually life-changing for me. And I was building a home in Santa Barbara. And as anybody who's ever built a bathroom or a home or anything, nothing ever happens on time. And it was 2002 and we're supposed to be finished and it wasn't finished. And I was like, I can't wait to get in my house and I'm finally going to have a great Christmas and I'm going to do the kind of Christmas that I dreamed of from the Courier and Ives, cards. I'm going to have the wreaths on the door, but I didn't have a floor, so it's a little difficult to do that. So I started to think, if I can't do that Christmas, well, what am I going to do for Christmas? My house isn't even ready, and what can I do? So I started, as I was walking around through the trees, sitting under that tree, because my favorite time is to be alone with my thoughts. And as I was alone with my thoughts, I was thinking, what would be the next best possible Christmas for myself? And I thought of the best Christmas I ever had. The best Christmas I ever had was when I was 12 years old. My mother was on welfare. I was living with my mother and a half-brother and sister in Milwaukee. And my mother called me, the oldest, into a room to say, we won't be having Christmas this year. I said, we won't be having Christmas. What about Santa Claus?
There is no Santa Claus. I had already figured that out, but okay. I was embarrassed and I was ashamed because for the first time I had to face the reality that, yeah, what I've been suspecting, that we're not like the other kids, that we really are poor, is true. So we're not going to have Christmas and there is no Santa Claus. My first thought after being embarrassed and ashamed was, what will my story be? What am I going to tell everybody when we go back to school and they're showing their toys and I don't have anything to talk about? What am I going to do? I'm not going to go outside tomorrow when everybody's out in the yards, in their yards, showing the toys they got for Christmas. I'm going to stay inside. Am I going to pretend I'm sick? What is my story going to be? Well, late that night, some nuns showed up at our house, and they brought a basket of food, and they brought toys for my brother and my sister. And I was overwhelmed with joy that those nuns showed up. Not because they brought me a Tammy doll when I really wanted a Barbie doll. I was overwhelmed because somebody remembered that we existed and somebody cared enough in the middle of the night to come to our house with food and toys. And also I would now have a story. So as I was contemplating that was the best Christmas I ever had, I thought, how could I make that possible for somebody else? What could I do to create the same kind of experience for other children? So I took 50 members of my team at Harpo, Harriet, one of them, Sherry, the table, and hired another 50 people in South Africa. And we went to South Africa with the idea of creating something that we ended up doing a documentary about called Christmas Kindness. Christmas Kindness, using my personality to serve the energy of my soul. So we went from village to village, offering toys and clothes, food, soccer balls to children who'd never experienced Christmas before. And early in the morning, you could see them lining up by the thousands to come. And we actually went to 10 or 12 villages to do this. And people said to me at the time, oh, that's so frivolous, and the kids won't remember it, and why don't you use your money to do something else more substantial, Oprah? And I said, they may not remember the toy. They may not remember the clothes, although they were most excited, the children, to open boxes containing clothes because, as their caretaker said to us, having new clothes made them not feel poor. And for so many of these kids, it was the first time they'd ever experienced having something that was new for them. They may not remember what they got in the box, but they will remember that somebody remembered them. They will remember the experience. So during this entire experience, Nelson Mandela had invited Stedman and I to stay at his home. So when Nelson Mandela invites you, you stay. And I was so nervous. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to talk to? Because it's 10 days. It's 10 days. It's not just a dinner. It's not a lunch. It's 10 days. It's 10 days, breakfast, lunch, and dinner with Nelson Mandela. What am I going to say? Stedman said, why don't you try listening? So I did. I had 29 meals with Nelson Mandela. At first, really, I was very, like, oh my God, it's Nelson Mandela. And by the third or fourth day, he and I would sit together in his living room, sharing the paper at the end of the day, talking about events in the world. And one of the things we came to talk about the most was the power of education to overcome poverty. So in one of those lucid moments, I said to him, well, I've always wanted to build a school. He said, you want to build a school? Oprah, you want to build a school? So he got up and made a phone call to the Minister of Education. I wasn't planning on building it then. But all right. The Minister of Education comes over later in the day and we start the process of building a school. The reason why I wanted to build a school, because I tried different things, because I always knew, even before I could articulate, that my personality needs to serve my soul. I always knew that to whom much is given, as the Bible says, much is expected. Much is not just expected, much is required. So from the first time I came to Chicago and started to make more money than I needed to actually pay my bills, I reached out and was going to form a sister group trying to help young girls in the project. And I discovered I wasn't able to do what I really needed to change the trajectory of those girls' lives, because every girl that we would take out of the project and spend time with on the weekends, my producers and I, they would have to go back home into the same environment. And it was impossible to just change the way they saw themselves in the world. So by trial and error, I knew that in order to literally change the way a girl sees herself, I would need enough time to spend with her, to be able to hire the right kind of teachers, the right kind of administration, to be surrounded by a nurturing environment, to allow that girl to change the way she felt about herself and saw herself in the world. So the idea of creating a boarding school that was surrounded by beauty, the kind of school that I would want to go to. And I tell you, when I first sat down with the architects and said, I want to build a great school for leaders that will change the lives of women, and they will be able to break the cycle of poverty for themselves and their families forever and become a part of the real and true new and free South Africa. Well, the architect said to me, well, these are poor girls. These girls. I said, well, where are the closets? Where's the space? Where's the drama? Where's the theater? And they said, well, these are poor girls. These girls really don't come from families with clothes, and a lot of them have lost their families. And I said, but they will have clothes, and they will be able to do drama, and they will be able to excel beyond anybody's dreams. And that is exactly what has happened 5 years later. As Ava mentioned, we are now approaching, I'll go over at the end of November, and we have our 5th graduating class. This coming June, I'll have 43 girls graduating in South Africa. I have 7 in the United States graduating. I have 20 girls in the United States. One of them, Sade, is here today. Stand up, Sade. Say hi. This young woman, who's now a junior at Stanford, I met when she was 12 years old, and I did the interview and said, tell me why you want to come. Do you want to come to the school? And she says, I really want to come. I really, really want to come. A dozen reallys. And she has done magnificent work throughout 7th grade, 8th grade, 10th grade, 12th grade, and from the moment my goddaughter, Kirby, who's also here today, who's Gail's daughter, came to speak to the girls at the school. Kirby was attending Stanford, and from the moment Sade heard Kirby speak about Stanford, she said that she knew that those were her people. And so when we went to Stanford and looked at the campus, she said, Mama, these are my peeps. These are my peeps. So this is what I know, that being here today and hearing from Susan and Gwyneth and Selma and Rebecca and Jim and Anna and all of us, it's a really good thing. But I have always known this about celebrity. The real power of being somebody that somebody knows, and I really think that the only difference between being famous and not is that more people know your name. So the only difference between understanding that is understanding that what Selma has done, what Susan has done, what Anna has done, Rebecca has done, what Jim has done, what I've done, you too can do. Because true philanthropy comes from living from the heart of yourself and giving what you have been given. How will you do that? How will you use your personality, the energy of your personality, to serve that which is your soul's calling. I know this for sure. Any life, no matter how fantastic it is, how glorious it seems, how much attention you receive, how much square footage you have, any life and every life is enhanced by the sharing and the giving and the opening up of the heart space. Your life gets better when you can find a way to share it with someone else. So what we've done, you can do. The real empowerment comes when every person leaves this room and makes a decision. Maybe that decision is that you will write a check and support some of the wonderful organizations you've heard here today. But the true decision is, how will you use yourself? How will you use everything that you have been given to serve that which is greater than yourself? How will you use that to become truly, authentically empowered? Now, it is a beautiful thing to receive an award and to be on the cover of Variety. Thank you very much. It's a beautiful thing. But the true reward is in the lives that you are able to touch and the people who you know you have impacted. My beloved mentor, teacher, friend, mother, Maya Angelou, passed away last year. And I remember when I opened the school, I was so happy that finally it happened. We got it done and got through all the bureaucracy and all the stuff that it takes to build a school from the ground up. And I said to Maya, "Oh my God, Maya, this is my legacy." And Maya said, "You have no idea. You have no idea what your legacy is. Your legacy is every life you have touched. Your legacy is every person you have met whose influence was felt by you. Every single person." So she said, it's every person who's ever watched a show and decided that they were going to go back to school, or watched a show and decided that I'm going to leave my husband. I'm going to no longer be a victim of abuse. Every person who watched a show and said, I am a victim of abuse, and because I saw this, I now can stand up for myself. Every person who gained a voice because of you. You have no idea what your legacy is. Your legacy is every life that you touch. And so, as you leave here today, the decision is, whose lives will that be? How will you use yourself in such a way that your impact and your legacy will live beyond the doing? So the great reward for me is knowing that what I'm doing and how I've done it and how I choose to live in the space that I call God, how in God I move and breathe and have my being, and I try to move from the center of that, is able to literally touch the lives of other people. I said to the girls when they first came to the school, we found them in villages and we found them in townships. We went out, some kids were having school in a boxcar on a railroad track and some under a tree. And I said to the girls, the trajectory of your life is about to change. And I only ask one thing of you, is that you give as much of yourself as I and this school is willing to give to you. And Becky Sykes, who's the head of our foundation and spends so much, stand up, Becky, spends so much time with the girls, can vouch for this. And so this is the true reward. I just wanted to share this with you. One of my, Sade is here because she's the only one of the 20 girls who are in school in the United States, their girls range from Brown, Mount Holyoke, Wellesley, Johnson C. Smith, Spelman, Colorado, Oregon, Stanford. She's the only one who had Fridays off. So I said, everybody, not getting out of class to come to Variety. No. But June of this year, so the girls are out in the world. We've done this thing that Susan was talking about, touching the lives of girls. And when you change a girl's life, you don't just change a girl's life. You change the community's life. You change a family's life. Because what girls do is they take it back home. They take it to their families. They take it to their communities. So my girls are all over the country in internships and working and doing multiple things during the summer months. And one of my daughters, I call them my daughters, Avakile, who's at Colorado College, was went back to Cape Town to work in Cape Town this summer. And she'd always wanted to be a doctor, had planned to major in medicine, and this summer made the decision that she was going to switch to public health. So when they leave, I always say, just let me know, just send a text. You don't even have to say you arrived, just send an emoji. Emoji, hello, I'm here. But she wrote me this amazing letter that will be something I treasure forever. I just wanted to share a bit of it with you today. She wrote this on June 11th. After having arrived in Cape Town and being in a house with all of these students from different parts of the world. She writes, this is a girl who we found who would have had a very different life. But she writes, the other day we were all sitting around table and began to have a heated, passionate, respectful, and compassionate, and most important, fulfilling discussion about what we want our own country and our nation to be, what we should be doing as the youth of this country to make it better. For the first time, I really believe I have hope for a better future. We talked about what male privilege means, what white privilege means, and the chains of victimization. Oh my, mamo. It was challenging, yet so insightful. It felt good to know that I could share my opinion with a group of only guys and know that if my opinion was disagreed upon, it was solely because of the quality of my opinion and not because I'm a girl. I'm finding myself being able to let go and be me without fear of what the next person thinks. When I think I can go deep with someone, I do, and most of the time it turns out that person was also seeking the same thing. I'm learning, I'm making mistakes, I'm laughing, I'm deciding, I'm asking, and I'm questioning, and I'm also growing. And I have to tell you, I am filled with gratitude, so much gratitude, that I can see the sights that I can see and meet the people I have met and continued to be favored by God. That's the true reward. Thank you.